welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys the top 22 books that I want to read in 2022. Now, is 22 books a lot? Yes. Is it kind of excessive? Yes. I was only planning on doing like a top 10, but when I was writing down this list, it just kept getting longer and longer and I could not narrow it down. So these are the top 22 books that I want to read this year. These also are my 5-star predictions, because if I were to make a 5-star prediction video, it would be the exact same list. So I guess this is like 2 in 1. These are my 5-star predictions and the top books that I want to read this year. I've broken them up into categories: sci-fi, thrills and chills, which are any like horror or thriller books, romance, and then like random other books that didn't fit into any of those. So since there's 22 books here, I'm not gonna go super in depth on the plots of all of these. I'll just tell you like quick little blurbs for them. I'll start with the thrills and chills category because that's the one that has the most. So the first one is A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw, which follows this man that has a mysterious ability where he's able to find a person by touching an object that they own. And he takes on the case of this children's book author who mysteriously went missing. And while he's investigating that, he finds this like very weird reclusive community and also ends up going missing. Sounds really cool. This is on my TBR for this month. The next one is Near the Bone by Christina Henry, who is an author that I want to read all of her stuff. I have like 5 of her books on my shelves that I haven't read yet. I have read Girl in Red by her and loved it, so I really want to read all of her books, but this one in particular is the one that sounds the most interesting to me. It says, a woman trapped on a mountain attempts to survive more than one kind of monster. So I believe it's about this woman and her husband who have lived alone on this mountain. She must never make him upset. But when Maddie discovers the mutilated body of a fox in the woods, she realizes they're not alone after all. Like, I don't know what it is about this, but the premise of this kind of reminds me of 10 Cloverfield Lane, where like the girl wakes up in this bunker and this guy is telling her that she can't leave. She'll die if she leaves. There's something out there, and she doesn't know if there actually is something out there or if he's just crazy and dangerous. I don't know. That's the vibes that I get. It sounds really cool. The next one is A House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Malerman. This is also on my TBR for this month. This follows a couple who finds this house at the bottom of a lake and goes to investigate it. It says, just because a house is empty doesn't mean nobody's home. I know literally nothing else about this book, but I'm so excited to read it. It sounds like it's gonna be really weird. The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. Again, this is a book that I do not know the plot of at all. The synopsis of it gives absolutely nothing, but I've heard that this book is very unexpected and that there's like a lot of twists in it. Also, there's a point of view from the cat, which just sounds cool to me. The next one I have is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This is a thriller about a married couple who are serial killers, which like, sign me up. Dexter meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We all have our secrets to keeping a marriage alive. Ours just happens to be getting away with murder. Cool. The next one is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead, which is a thriller. 6 friends, 1 college reunion, 1 unsolved murder. These friends are all brought back together for this college reunion, and they're all trapped in a room together where someone is trying to figure out who among them is the murderer. The next one is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, and this follows a girl who is a gigantic slasher movie fan who now feels like she is at the center of a slasher plot. So that's all I know about it. I love Stephen Graham Jones, so I'm very excited for this despite not hearing the best things. I think I'm gonna love it as a fellow avid slasher movie fan. And then the last book in the thrills and chills category is In the Garden of Spite by Camilla Bruce, which says it is a novel of feminine revenge and one of the most prolific female serial killers in American history and the men who drove her to do it. Listen, I'm just here to stan female serial killers, okay? We stan them on this channel. The way that I feel about this book is like that viral tweet that I've seen go around that's like, you know, I support female rights, but I also support female wrongs. So quickly, I want to take a minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Ritual. With the new year, there is no perfect time to incorporate a new habit into your routine. And even with the perfect diet, it can be hard to get key nutrients that we need on a daily basis. And that is where Ritual helps you fill in those gaps by providing easy to take vitamins with 9 high quality nutrients, no shady additives, fillers, or colorants, so that you know exactly what's going into your body. I love Ritual because of their transparency in all of the ingredients that they use and why they use them. They're also vegan friendly, non-GMO, gluten and allergen free, and they have no added sugar. I take the essentials for women, but they also offer vitamins for men, 50 plus, prenatal, postnatal, and teens. And it's only $1 a day to have 9 high quality nutrients delivered straight to your door every single month. And you can get 10% off your first 3 months by going to ritual.com/RileyM10 and using my code RileyM10. Once again, thank you to Ritual for sponsoring this video. Okay, the next category is romance. So the first book that I have is King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a fantasy romance with vampires. So this follows a princess who is forced to marry the enemy vampire king in order to kill him. But when he discovers her plot, he tells her that if she attempts to kill him again, he will kill her and bring her back as a vampire, which is the absolute last thing that she wants because she hates vampires. And this just sounds so good. It combines all of my favorite like fantasy romance tropes, but then adds in vampires. Oh my god, I'm so excited to read this. The next one is Her Soul for Revenge by Harley Laroux. This is the second book in this series, and I'm so excited to read this. The first one is one of my all-time favorite romance books, and this one is following Juniper and Zane, who we saw bits and pieces of them throughout the first book, and I have been dying to read their romance. These are kind of horror romances about demons. So excited for that. The next one is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is a second chance romance between these two authors who had like a quick fling 15 years earlier when they were teenagers, and now they meet each other again at this literary event. I've just heard phenomenal things about this book. The reason why I wanted to pick this up so much is because the main character has chronic migraines, which I also have, and I've never seen representation for that before, so I'm really excited. The last romance book is Always Only You by Chloe Lees. Technically, I could put like the whole series here. I just read the first book, Only When It's Us, and freaking loved it. So I bought the whole series and I want to read the other books. This series is following the Bergman brothers. Something about Chloe Lees' books is that they all have some sort of disability representation. So the first book, the hero is deaf, and this one, I believe one of the characters is on the autism spectrum and has rheumatoid arthritis. So I'm very excited to read this one, considering how much I loved the first book. And when I posted about this on my Instagram, pretty much everybody told me that the second book is their favorite. So the next category is sci-fi. The first one I have here is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. This is a series I've been wanting to read for a very long time, but for some reason I just never got around to it. So this takes place in the 1950s and is about a meteorite that falls to Earth and destroys most of the eastern seaboard of the US, causes tons of like climate disasters, which greatly accelerates the space race. They're racing to put a man on the moon, but we're following a female pilot who really wants to become the first female astronaut in space. And yeah, I've just heard great things about this series, and I love the idea of a sci-fi that takes place in the past. The next one I have here is The Second Rebel by Lyndon A. Lewis, which is the sequel to The First Sister, which was one of my favorite books of 2020, and I've been so excited for the sequel. The first book was so action-packed. I loved the world building, I loved the characters, and it ended on such a plot twist and cliffhanger, so I literally cannot wait to read this. The next one is Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Okoye, and this says that it is Good Omens meets The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet in this joyful adventure set in California's San Gabriel Valley with cursed violence, Faustian bargains, and queer alien courtship over fresh-made donuts. It just sounds like very bizarre. It's blurbed by a lot of authors who I really like. And then the last sci-fi book is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is another book I've been wanting to read for a very long time. This is a sci-fi thriller. And what I know about this is that it's about this guy who wakes up and his life is completely different. His wife is not his wife. His son is gone, he has a different job, and he's trying to figure out if this new life is a dream or if it's real and if his old life was real. I've heard great things about this book. Okay, so this last category is my other category. These are all books that like didn't really fit into the other categories that I had. So the first one is Disability Visibility, edited by Alice Wong. This is a collection of essays all about disability. I've been very interested in this book and a lot of my friends have recommended this to me. The next one is A Marvelous Light by Freya Marske. So this takes place in an Edwardian England but with magic. There is a secret magical society hiding in England and the main character becomes the civil service liaison to this magical society, and he's partnered up with this cold and grumpy man. This just sounds so cute, and I saw Rick Riordan described this as Downton Abbey but gay and with magic. And like, let me just say, nothing has ever sold me on a book more. The next one is Reprieve by James Hahn Matson, and I fully bought this solely on the recommendation of Kayla from Books and Lala. I had not heard of this book at all, but I saw her talk about this in a video and I was sold. I paused the video halfway through and went and bought it. It says it is a social horror centered around a brutal killing that takes place in a full contact haunted escape room. But the way that Kayla described it was like throughout the book, you see all of these characters' backstories. So it's not like super horror, it's more just like an exploration of characters. And I love escape rooms. I love character heavy books. I'm just very excited for this one. And the last book I got is a book that I feel like every time I saw somebody talk about this book, my brain did not register it at all. So I didn't know what it was about until recently, and that is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. I think that the reason was that this cover reminds me of a bunch of other books that I have absolutely no interest in. So anytime I saw somebody talk about this book, my brain just immediately tuned it out. But this sounds really great. So basically the main character is an author and she's pitching her new suspense novel to her agent. And as she's describing the plot of the book, somebody overhears her and doesn't realize she's talking about a book and thinks that she's actually a killer for hire and hires her to dispose of her husband. So this just sounds like it's gonna be really funny. This kind of reminds me of the show Good Girls, not necessarily in plot, but just in like the vibes of this woman accidentally finding herself in this world of like killers. I've seen this pop up in so many favorite books of 2021 videos, so I'm excited to read that. Those were the top 22 books that I want to read this year. Hopefully I will read all of these books this year. I'm actually gonna make like a really big effort to read the books on this list. Let me know in the comments what book you most want to read this year, or also let me know of all the books that I've mentioned, which ones you think I should prioritize. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!